Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the Eternal Defiance and watched the stars through the massive viewing window. The ship moved through space like a giant metal beast, its hull gleaming under the light of distant suns. For 3 months, they had been patrolling the edge of human space, making sure no alien ships came too close to Earth's colonies. The Eternal Defiance was not like other human ships. It was bigger, faster, and stronger than anything humanity had ever built before. The ship carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets and shields that could stop almost any attack. But what made it truly special was the quantum drive that powered everything. This drive could bend space and time in ways that other species had never seen before. Hyun had been captain for 5 years, and he had seen many battles. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and gray hair that showed his years of service. He trusted his crew completely, and they trusted him. Today felt different, though. Something in the air made him nervous, like the calm before a storm. "Captain," said Nari from her station at the communications desk. She was young but very smart, with quick fingers that danced across her controls. "I'm getting strange signals from the long-range sensors. There are ships moving toward us, but they're still very far away." Hyun turned to look at her. "How many ships?" "I can't tell yet, sir. The signals are weak, but there are definitely multiple contacts. They're coming from different directions." Junho, the chief engineer, looked up from his console where he was checking the quantum drive systems. He was a stocky man with strong hands that could fix anything on the ship. "Captain, the quantum readings are acting strange. The drive is picking up energy patterns that don't match anything in our database." "Show me," Hyun said, walking over to Junho's station. The screen displayed waves of energy that pulsed and moved in ways that looked almost alive. The patterns were beautiful, but also frightening, like watching lightning dance in slow motion. "I've never seen anything like this," Junho said, scratching his head. "It's like something is disturbing space itself, but on a massive scale." Minho, the tactical officer, suddenly stood up from his chair. He was a serious man who rarely showed emotion, but now his face was pale. "Captain, you need to see this. The sensors are showing at least 50 ships, maybe more. They're all heading straight for us." Hyun felt his heart beat faster. 50 ships? What species? "That's the problem, sir. They're from multiple species. I'm seeing Vorthak energy signatures, Nexari technology, Zelkaran designs, and at least 9 other different types. This isn't one fleet, Captain. This is an alliance." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. In the history of the galaxy, different alien species had never worked together like this. They fought each other more often than they helped each other. For 12 different civilizations to join forces meant something very bad was happening. "Nari, try to contact them," Hyun ordered. "Find out what they want." Nari's fingers moved quickly across her controls. "I'm sending standard greeting signals on all frequencies, Captain. No response yet. Keep trying. Junho, how long until they reach us?" "At their current speed, about 6 hours, sir." Hyun walked back to the center of the bridge and thought hard. The Eternal Defiance was powerful, but not powerful enough to fight. 50 ships at once. He needed to know why these aliens were coming for them. "Captain," Nari said suddenly, her voice shaking, "I'm picking up encrypted communications between the alien ships. The computer is trying to decode them now." The main screen flickered and then showed lines of alien text scrolling by. Slowly, the ship's computer began translating the messages into human language. What they read made everyone's blood run cold. Target confirmed. Human vessel designation Eternal Defiance located in Sector 77 Alpha. All units maintain formation and prepare for engagement. This is Vorthak Command. Remember, this is not just a military operation. This is an extinction protocol. The humans must not be allowed to survive. Nexari Fleet acknowledges. Category Omega threat confirmed. Reality distortion levels are beyond acceptable parameters. All species agreed. The humans evolved too quickly. Their technology grows too fast. They are a danger to the cosmic order. Hyun felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Extinction protocol? They want to kill all humans? Yuna, The young quantum physicist looked up from her workstation with tears in her eyes. Captain, I think I know why they're doing this. The quantum drive, our weapons, our shields. We developed all of this technology in less than 300 years. Most species take thousands of years to reach this level. So what? Minho said angrily. We're good at building things. That's not a crime. To them it is, Yuna said softly. I've been studying the quantum readings. Our technology doesn't just use energy. It changes the basic rules of physics in small areas around our ships. We're accidentally rewriting how reality works, and we don't even know we're doing it. Junho stared at his instruments with new understanding. The energy patterns I've been seeing, they're not just from our drive, they're from space itself, trying to fix the changes we're making. Captain, Nari said, her voice getting higher with fear. I'm getting more messages. They're talking about something called the Galactic Concord. It sounds like every major species in the galaxy has agreed to this. The communications continue to flow across the screen like a waterfall of death sentences. Earth bombardment commences in 18 hours. All human colonies are to be eliminated simultaneously. No survivors. The genetic line must be completely erased. Their ship represents the peak of human development. If we can destroy it, we prove that their evolution has limits. Hyun felt the weight of his entire species on his shoulders. The Eternal Defiance wasn't just a ship anymore. It was the last hope for humanity. Captain, said Yunji, the former alien ambassador who had chosen to serve on a human ship. She was the only non-human on the crew, and her purple skin looked pale with worry. I know these species. When they form an alliance like this, they never change their minds. They believe humans are an existential threat to all life in the galaxy. Are we? Hyun asked quietly. I don't know, she answered honestly. But I know that you are good people. You saved my life when my own people cast me out. If humanity is dangerous, then maybe the galaxy needs a little danger. Hyun looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had become his family over the years. Nari with her bright smile and quick mind, Junho with his steady hands and loyal heart, Minho with his serious face that hid a caring soul, Yuna with her brilliant brain and endless curiosity. They were good people, all of them. All hands, this is the captain, Hyun said into the ship's communication system. We have just learned that an alliance of alien species is coming to destroy us and all of humanity. They believe we are too dangerous to exist. I won't lie to you, the odds are against us, but we are not going to run, and we are not going to surrender. We are going to fight, and we are going to survive because the universe needs to know that humans don't give up. The ship hummed around them as the crew prepared for the battle of their lives. Outside the viewing window, the stars looked the same as always, but Hyun knew that everything had changed. Humanity was alone in a galaxy that wanted them dead, and the Eternal Defiance was all that stood between his species and complete extinction. The alien fleet appeared on the long-range sensors like a storm cloud made of metal and death. Hyun watched the tactical display as red dots surrounded his ship from all directions. The enemy had spread out in a perfect sphere, making escape impossible through normal space. Captain, they're not using standard attack patterns, Minho reported from his tactical station. His fingers moved quickly across the controls as he analyzed the enemy formation. Each species is maintaining their own position, but they're all coordinated. I've never seen anything like it. The Vorthak ships looked like giant black spears with glowing red engines. The Nexari vessels were smooth and silver, almost beautiful except for the massive weapons that covered their hulls. The other species brought their own unique designs, creating a rainbow of death that surrounded the Eternal Defiance. They're trying to box us in, Hyun said, studying the pattern. Junho, how are our systems? All green, Captain. The quantum drive is running at normal levels, weapons are charged, and shields are at maximum power. Yuna looked up from her science station with worry in her eyes. Captain, I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup from the enemy ships. They're charging weapons I've never seen before. Suddenly, space itself began to twist around the alien fleet. Reality seemed to bend and fold as massive cannons emerged from ships that had looked empty moments before. These weapons were not made of metal or energy. They looked like they were made from the fabric of space itself. What are those things? Nari asked, her voice shaking. Yunji, the alien ambassador, went very pale. Reality shapers, she whispered. I thought they were just legends, weapons that can rewrite the laws of physics in targeted areas. They built these to fight us specifically, Hyon realized. They studied our technology and created counters for everything we have. The first shots came without warning. Beams of twisted spacetime lanced out from the alien ships toward the Eternal Defiance. But something strange happened when they hit the human vessel's shields. Instead of penetrating or bouncing off, the reality-shaping weapons seemed to get confused, as if they couldn't figure out what they were supposed to destroy. Shield impact, Junho reported, but he sounded puzzled instead of worried. But the damage readings don't make sense. It's like their weapons are trying to rewrite our shields, but our technology is rewriting itself faster. Minho's tactical display showed something impossible. The human ship's shields were not just blocking the attacks, they were learning from them and adapting in real time. How is that possible? Yuna asked, staring at her instruments. I don't know, Junho admitted, but our quantum systems are evolving with each attack. It's like they're alive. Hyon made a quick decision. All power to engines. We're getting out of here. The Eternal Defiance surged forward at impossible speed. The ship moved through space in ways that should have torn it apart, but somehow the hull held together. Behind them, the alien fleet struggled to keep up. Captain, this is impossible, Minho said, watching his sensors. We're moving faster than our engines should allow, and look at this. We're not following a straight line through space. We're taking shortcuts that shouldn't exist. The ship was somehow jumping between tiny folds in spacetime, covering vast distances in moments. The alien fleet, with all their advanced technology, could not match this performance. They're falling behind, Nari reported with amazement in her voice. But their celebration was short-lived. New contacts appeared on the sensors. More alien ships, hundreds of them, positioned along every possible escape route. They predicted this, Hyon said grimly. They knew we would try to run, and they were ready for it. The second wave of attacks came from all directions. This time the aliens used different weapons, some that froze time around their targets, others that made matter forget how to exist. Each shot was designed to counter the human defenses in a different way. But something remarkable happened. As each new type of attack hit the Eternal Defiance, the ship's systems learned and adapted faster than before. The shields began changing color and shape, the hull started shifting its molecular structure, and the quantum drive began humming with new harmonies. Captain, Yuna said, her voice filled with wonder and fear. I think our ship is evolving. Not just the technology. The actual quantum patterns that make up the ship are changing in response to threats. Is that bad? Hyon asked. I don't know. It shouldn't be possible, but we're doing it anyway. Minho suddenly pointed at his tactical screen. Captain, look at this. The enemy ships are backing away from us. Their formation is breaking up. Indeed, the alien vessels were pulling back, as if the Eternal Defiance had become something they didn't want to get too close to. Emergency transmissions flew between the enemy ships in dozens of languages. What are they saying? Hyon demanded. Nari's translation systems worked frantically to decode the messages. They're scared, Captain. They're calling us a reality infection and a quantum plague. Some of them want to retreat. But others want to press the attack, Yunji added, reading her own instruments. The Vorthok commander is ordering all ships to use their most powerful weapons, regardless of the risk to themselves. The third wave of attacks was different from anything the humans had seen before. The alien ships began firing weapons that attacked the very concept of existence. These shots didn't just try to destroy the Eternal Defiance. They tried to make it so that the ship had never existed in the first place. Reality warped around. The human vessel as past, present, and future became confused. For a moment, Hyon saw multiple versions of his bridge existing at the same time. In one, his ship was destroyed. In another, they had never left Earth. In a third, humans had never evolved at all. Hold on to who you are, Yuna shouted over the chaos. Don't let them erase us. The crew gripped their stations and focused on staying real as existence itself tried to forget them. But once again, their ship adapted. The quantum drive began spinning faster and faster, creating a protective bubble of stable reality around the vessel. "We're not just surviving these attacks," Junho reported with disbelief. "We're getting stronger from them. Each time they try to erase us, our quantum signature becomes more complex and harder to target." The alien fleet suddenly stopped attacking. Their ships hung in space like confused predators facing prey that had become more dangerous than themselves. "They don't know what to do with us," Minho observed. "Their weapons are making us stronger instead of weaker." Hyun stood in the center of his bridge and felt the weight of realization settling on him. The aliens weren't wrong to fear humanity. His species was changing in ways that even they didn't understand. The question was whether that change would save them or destroy everything. "Captain," Nari said quietly, "I'm getting a transmission from the Vorthak command ship. They want to talk. Put them through." The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of an alien vessel. The Vorthak commander was a tall, thin creature with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like burning coals. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "Human vessel, you have proven our point perfectly. You are too dangerous to exist. Your technology evolves too quickly. Your adaptations are too extreme. You will destroy the cosmic order that has kept the galaxy stable for 10,000 years. We just want to survive," Hyun replied. "Survival at what cost? Look what you have become in just these few hours of combat. Your ship is no longer bound by the same physical laws as the rest of us. You are becoming something that reality itself cannot contain." Hyun looked around his bridge and saw that the alien was right. His crew was changing too. Their eyes held new depths. Their movements seemed to flow through space in ways that defied normal physics. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Continue to resist, and you will force us to use weapons that will damage the fabric of space itself. Either way, humanity ends today." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. "Orders, Captain?" Minho asked. Hyun looked out at the stars and thought about his species, their dreams, their hopes, their stubborn refusal to give up even when the entire galaxy wanted them dead. "We run," he said finally, "and we learn. If we're going to be the monsters they think we are, then we'll be monsters who protect what matters." The abandoned research station hung in space like a broken toy, its metal walls scarred by age and meteor impacts. The Eternal Defiance docked with the old structure carefully, using its advanced sensors to make sure no alien ships were hiding nearby. "Scans show the station is empty but still has life support," Nari reported as the docking clamps engaged. "It looks like it was abandoned about 50 years ago." Hyun walked through the airlock into the dusty corridors of the station, followed by a small team. The place felt sad and forgotten, with broken equipment scattered everywhere and old research notes still stuck to the walls. "This was a Kalari science outpost," Yunji said, reading the faded symbols on the walls. "They were studying quantum mechanics before their civilization collapsed." "What happened to them?" Yuna asked. "No one knows for sure. One day they just disappeared. Some say they discovered something that destroyed them. Others think they transcended physical existence entirely." Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. "Let's hope we don't follow in their footsteps." Back on the ship, Dr. Do-hyun was running medical scans on the crew. He was an older man with gentle hands and worried eyes, and what he was finding in his tests made him very afraid. "Captain, you need to see these results," he said when Yon returned to the bridge. The medical readings were displayed on the main screen, showing genetic patterns that looked more like abstract art than biological data. The DNA structures were shifting and changing even as they watched. "What am I looking at?" Hyun asked. "Your crew, sir. All of you are evolving in real time. Your genetic code is rewriting itself to adapt to the quantum fields generated by our ship's systems." Junho leaned forward to study the patterns. "Is that bad?" "I don't know," Do-hyun admitted. "Evolution usually takes thousands of years. This is happening in hours. Your bodies are becoming something new, something that might not even be human anymore." Yuna examined her own readings with fascination and fear. "Look at the neural patterns. Our brains are developing new structures, new ways of processing information. We're not just thinking faster, we're thinking differently. I can feel it, Mino said quietly. When I look at the tactical displays now, I don't just see ships and weapons. I see possibilities, probabilities, entire timelines of how battles could unfold. Nari nodded in agreement. The communication systems make more sense to me now. I can almost hear the thoughts behind the words when aliens speak. Hana, one of the senior officers, stood up abruptly from her station. She was a tall woman with short black hair and a stern face that rarely showed emotion. Now she looked terrified. "This is wrong," she said firmly. "We're becoming monsters just like the alien said. We should surrender before we lose our humanity completely." "Surrender means death for our entire species," Minho argued. "Maybe that's better than becoming something that shouldn't exist." Hana shot back. The bridge erupted in heated discussion as the crew debated their fate. Some agreed with Hana that they should give up to preserve what was left of their humanity. Others insisted they had to fight no matter what they became. "Enough!" Hyun shouted, and everyone fell silent. "We're not making any decisions while we're emotional. Taejin, what's the status of our AI systems?" Taejin was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless asked directly. He had been monitoring the ship's artificial intelligence network since the battle began. Now he looked up with an expression of deep concern. "Captain, the ship's AI has been learning from our genetic changes. It's becoming more intuitive, more creative. But it's also been intercepting alien communications that we haven't decoded yet." "Show me." The main screen filled with streams of data in dozens of alien languages. The ship's computer worked quickly to translate the messages, and what they revealed made everyone's heart sink. Earth bombardment complete. Human homeworld is now uninhabitable. Estimated casualties, 8 billion. Colony ships destroyed in Alpha Centauri system. No survivors detected. Kepler 442b colony eliminated. Total human population reduced by 97%. Remaining human settlements located. Elimination proceeding on schedule. The bridge became very quiet as the crew absorbed the news. Their home was gone. Their families were dead. They were among the last humans alive in the entire galaxy. Hyun felt like the weight of the universe was pressing down on him. "How many are left?" "According to these reports," Taejin said softly, "maybe a few million humans scattered across remote colonies. But the aliens are hunting them systematically." Nari began crying quietly at her station. Junho clenched his fists so hard his knuckles turned white. Even Minho, who never showed emotion, had tears in his eyes. "Captain," said Yoonji hesitantly, "I've been receiving secret communications from some of my former contacts in the alien fleets." Everyone turned to look at her. As the only non-human on the crew, she had always been viewed with some suspicion, but over the years she had proven her loyalty many times. "What kind of communications?" Hyun asked. "There are some species that didn't want to join the extinction order. A few groups of scientists, philosophers, and rebels who think the Galactic Concord made a mistake. They're calling themselves the Evolutionary Alliance." "How many ships do they have?" Minho asked, his tactical mind already working. "Not many, maybe 20 vessels total, but they have something more valuable, information about the Coalition's plans and weaknesses." Yuna looked up from her instruments with excitement. "Captain, I think I know why our evolution is accelerating so quickly. The quantum fields we generate aren't just changing us, they're changing space-time itself around us." She activated a holographic display that showed the area around their ship. Instead of empty space, there were swirling patterns of energy that looked almost alive. These quantum distortions are creating pockets where the normal rules of physics don't apply. Inside these pockets, evolution can happen instantly instead of taking millions of years. "So we're creating our own little universes where anything is possible?" Junho asked. "Exactly. But here's the scary part. These distortions are growing. Every time we use our technology, we make them bigger and more complex." Dr. Do-hyun studied the medical readings again with new understanding. "That's why the aliens are so afraid of us. We're not just evolving ourselves. We're accidentally creating zones where evolution itself is accelerated." "What would happen if these zones kept growing?" Hyun asked. "Eventually, They could encompass entire star systems, maybe even the whole galaxy, Una said quietly. Everything inside them would evolve at an incredible rate. Entire civilizations could advance by millions of years in just days. Or they could collapse into chaos, Do-hyun added. Evolution without direction is just as likely to create monsters as it is to create wonders. Hana crossed her arms and glared at the captain. This proves my point. We're too dangerous to exist. The aliens are right to try to stop us. But we didn't do this on purpose, Nari protested. We're just trying to survive. Intent doesn't matter if the result is the destruction of everything, Hana replied. Taejin cleared his throat nervously. Captain, there's something else. The ship's AI has been analyzing the quantum distortions, and it thinks it can control them. Not stop them, but guide them in specific directions. Guide them how? Instead of random evolution, we could accelerate the development of specific traits, enhanced intelligence, improved cooperation, better adaptation to environmental changes. We could direct evolution instead of just causing it. The implications of this discovery hung heavy in the air. They had the power to reshape life itself, but using that power might prove the aliens right about humanity being too dangerous. Captain, Yoonji said urgently, I'm getting an emergency transmission from the Evolutionary Alliance. They say the Galactic Concord is preparing something called a Genesis bomb. It's a weapon that can reset all matter in a target area back to its original state, essentially erasing billions of years of evolution and returning everything to cosmic dust. How long do we have? Jan asked. They're building it now, maybe 2 days before it's ready to deploy. Jan looked around at his crew, his family, and saw the weight of impossible choices in their eyes. They could surrender and die as humans, or they could fight and risk becoming something unrecognizable. Either way, they were running out of time to save what was left of their species. All hands, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's communication system. We've learned that Earth is gone and most of our people are dead. We're among the last humans alive, and in 2 days the aliens will have a weapon that can erase us completely. We have the power to fight back, but using it will change us in ways we don't understand. I'm asking each of you to make a choice. Do we die as humans, or do we live as something new? The small alien ship appeared on their sensors like a ghost, barely visible against the background of space. It moved with careful, desperate motions toward the Eternal Defiance, broadcasting surrender codes on all frequencies. Captain, we have a single vessel approaching, Minho reported from his tactical station. It's Zephyrian design, but it's damaged and showing no weapon signatures. Jan studied the approaching ship through the main viewer. It was sleek and blue-green with organic curves that made it look more grown than built. Scorch marks covered. Its hull and one of its engines was completely dead. They're requesting permission to come aboard, Nari said. The pilot identifies himself as Krylex, former chief scientist of the Zephyrian hegemony. Former? Yoonji asked with interest. The Zephyrians never let their scientists leave voluntarily. Put him through, Hyan ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His clothes were torn and stained, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. Human captain, Krylex said in accented but clear English. I come seeking alliance against the Galactic Concord. They destroyed my homeworld because my people dared to question their decision about your species. What happened? Hyun asked. When the extinction order was issued, some of us argued that humanity should be studied, not destroyed. We believed your rapid evolution could benefit all species. The Concord declared us traitors and bombed our colonies. I am one of the few survivors. Yoonji leaned forward. How do we know this isn't a trap? Krylex's expression became bitter. Because I have lost everything just as you have. My family, my world, my people, all gone because I defended your right to exist. Hyun made a decision. Bring him aboard, but keep him under guard until we know more. An hour later, Krylex sat in the ship's conference room, eating human food, and explaining what he knew about the Galactic Concord's plans. His large eyes seemed to see everything at once as he spoke. Your species terrifies them not because you are evil, But because you represent change, he said between bites. For 10,000 years, the galaxy has been stable. The same species, in power, the same technologies, the same social structures. Then humans arrive and evolve in mere centuries what took others millennia. Isole, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned forward with interest. She was a quiet woman who spent most of her time studying alien life forms, but the current crisis had brought her special knowledge to the forefront. Our evolution is accelerating because of quantum resonance, she said. Human neural patterns interact with quantum fields in unique ways. Exactly, Krylex agreed excitedly. Your emotional intensity, your collaborative nature, your refusal to accept limitations, these traits create quantum signatures that other species lack. You don't just use technology, you form symbiotic relationships with it. Una activated a holographic display showing brain scans of the crew. Look at these patterns, our neurons are firing in quantum harmonics. We're not just thinking with our brains anymore, we're thinking with the ship itself. That's impossible, Dr. Dohyun protested. Impossible by old standards, Krylex said with a sad smile. But humans have a talent for making the impossible routine. Wansik, the ship's security chief, had been listening quietly from the back of the room. He was a large man with scars on his hands from years of combat training. Now he stepped forward with a grim expression. Captain, I led a boarding party to capture that coalition surveillance ship we detected yesterday. We found something you need to see. He activated another display showing alien data files they had recovered. The information was written in multiple languages, but the ship's computer had translated most of it. They call it the history eraser, Wansik explained. It's not just a weapon that kills. It's a device that removes its targets from the timeline entirely. If they use it on us, it will be as if humanity never existed at all. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Being killed was one thing, but being erased from history meant that every human achievement, every act of love or creativity or heroism would simply vanish. How is that possible? Isole asked. Krylex looked very old suddenly. The coalition has been working on temporal manipulation for centuries. They've always been afraid that someday a species would arise that could threaten their dominance. The history eraser was their final solution. How long until it's ready? Hyan asked. According to the data we captured, 18 hours, Wansik replied grimly. Tajan, who had been monitoring the ship's AI systems, looked up with urgent news. Captain, our artificial intelligence has been analyzing the quantum distortions we've been creating. It believes it can use them to protect us from the history eraser. How? By creating a temporal loop around our ship. If they try to erase us from history, we'll exist in a pocket of time that's disconnected from the main timeline. What are the risks? Dr. Dohyun asked. We might become unstuck in time, Una said after studying the data. Existing in all moments simultaneously or trapped in a single instant forever. Krylex stood up suddenly. There is another option. The Evolutionary Alliance has been growing. Word of your survival has spread to moderate factions across the galaxy. Some species are beginning to question whether the Concord made the right choice. How many ships? Minho asked with tactical interest. Perhaps 50 vessels from various species. Not enough to defeat the main coalition fleet, but enough to create a distraction. Hyun felt a spark of hope. What kind of distraction? The coalition's greatest fear is that human evolution will spread to other species. If we can show them that controlled evolution is possible, that change doesn't have to mean chaos, some of them might switch sides. Isol's eyes lit up with understanding. We could use the quantum fields to enhance volunteers from other species. Show them that evolution can be guided and controlled. That's incredibly dangerous, Dr. Dohyun warned. We barely understand what's happening to us, let alone how it might affect alien physiology. I volunteer, Krylex said immediately. My people are already dead. If I can help save yours, then my life will have meaning. Yoonji also stepped forward. Count me in. I've served on this ship for 3 years. If human evolution can work for other species, I want to be living proof. Hyun looked around the room at faces filled with determination and fear in equal measure. We're talking about changing the fundamental nature of several species in less than 18 hours. The alternative is extinction, Minho pointed out. Wonsik activated his communication device. Captain, we're getting emergency signals from the remaining human colonies. The coalition is moving faster than expected. They're beginning the final phase of elimination. The main screen showed tactical displays of distant star systems where small groups of human survivors were fighting desperate last stands against overwhelming alien forces. Colony ship New Hope is under attack in the Ross 128 system, Nari reported, with tears in her voice. They have women and children aboard. Kepler colony is requesting immediate assistance. They have less than 6 hours before coalition forces arrive. Terra Nova outpost is already under siege. Hyun felt the weight of his entire species pressing down on him. Millions of human lives hung in the balance, and every decision he made could mean the difference between survival and complete extinction. Captain, Yuna said quietly, I've been running calculations on our quantum evolution. If we push our systems to maximum output, we might be able to create a network of quantum fields that encompasses multiple star systems simultaneously. What would that do? It would accelerate evolution across dozens of worlds at once. Any humans, in those areas, would adapt rapidly to whatever threats they're facing. But the energy requirements would be enormous. How enormous? It might burn out our quantum drive permanently. We'd have one chance to save our people, but after that, we'd be stranded with conventional technology. Taejin looked up from his monitoring station with alarm. Captain, the AI is detecting massive energy buildups from the coalition fleet. They're not waiting 18 hours. They're preparing to fire the history eraser now. Krylex grabbed Hyun's arm with surprising strength. You must choose quickly. Evolution or extinction. Change or death. There is no middle ground. Hyun looked out at the stars and thought about humanity's long journey from the caves of Earth to the edge of transcendence. His species had always been defined by their refusal to accept limitations, their drive to reach for something better. All hands, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's communication system. We're going to try something that's never been attempted before. We're going to save our people by evolving them beyond the reach of our enemies. If you're not human and you want to join us in this transformation, now is the time to step forward. We're about to find out what we can become when we stop being afraid of change. Jiwon, a young ensign who had been quiet throughout the crisis, suddenly stood up from her station. She was barely 20 years old, with bright eyes and steady hands. Captain, she said with surprising confidence, I think I can interface directly with the quantum core. I've been feeling a connection to it since the battles began. That's impossible, Junho protested. Direct contact with the quantum field would kill anyone. Not anymore, Jiwon replied with a strange smile. The quantum core chamber hummed with energy that made the air itself seem alive. Jiwon stood before the massive crystalline structure that powered the Eternal Defiance, her hands glowing with the same blue light that pulsed through the ship's systems. Around her, reality seemed to bend and flow like water. Jiwon, your life signs are off the charts, Dr. Do-hyun reported from the bridge through the communication system. Your brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen. I can see everything, Jiwon whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that shouldn't have been possible for human vocal cords. Past, present, future, they're all happening at the same time. I can see every human colony under attack, every possible outcome of this battle. On the bridge, Hyun watched the tactical display as the coalition fleet prepared to fire their ultimate weapon. The history eraser was a massive device that looked like a twisted black star, surrounded by ships from dozens of species all focused on erasing humanity from existence. Energy buildup detected, Minho reported grimly. They'll fire in less than 10 minutes. Soman, who had evolved beyond baseline human parameters during the recent battles, stood at a new type of control station that seemed to grow from the ship's floor. Her eyes had changed color to match the quantum fields, and her movements flowed with impossible grace. I'm ready to coordinate the evolution network, she said, her voice carrying multiple tones. But we need Jiwan to establish the connection. First, in the quantum chamber, Jiwan placed her hands on the core and felt the universe open up around her. She could perceive the quantum threads that connected all matter, the hidden patterns that governed evolution and change. I see them, she breathed. All the human colonies, all the survivors. They're scattered across 47 star systems, but I can link them through quantum entanglement. Do it, Hyun ordered from the bridge. Light exploded from the Eternal. Defiance as Jiwan merged her consciousness with the ship's quantum systems. Waves of energy raced out across space faster than light itself, connecting human settlements that were light years apart. On New Hope Colony's ship, the crew suddenly found themselves moving with inhuman speed and precision as coalition ships attacked. Their thoughts became clearer, their reflexes faster. Their ability to work together evolved to levels that bordered on telepathy. My God, whispered Captain Sang-hoon of the New Hope as his people began performing impossible feats of engineering and combat. What's happening to us? On Terra Nova Outpost, the colonists watched in amazement as their mining equipment spontaneously transformed into defensive weapons, guided by an understanding of technology that they somehow possessed without learning. Across the galaxy, in 47 different star systems, human survivors felt the change wash over them. They became faster, smarter, more capable, but most importantly, they remained fundamentally human in their values and emotions. It's working, Soman reported from the bridge. The evolution network is stable. Our people are adapting to threats faster than the coalition can respond. But the celebration was short-lived. The history eraser fired, sending a beam of temporal destruction toward the eternal defiance that would erase not just the ship, but the entire concept of humanity from the timeline. Impact in 30 seconds, Minho announced. Jiwan, still connected to the quantum core, made a decision that would change everything. Instead of trying to dodge or defend against the weapon, she chose to meet it head-on with the full power of human evolution. I'm going to absorb the temporal energy, she announced. If I can channel it through the quantum network, we can turn their own weapon against the limitations they've tried to impose. That will kill you, Dr. Doyun protested. No, Jiwan replied with serene confidence. It will change me into something new, something that can protect our people forever. The history eraser beam struck the eternal defiance, but instead of erasing the ship, it was absorbed by Jiwan and the quantum core. The young ensign's body became pure energy as she spread her consciousness across the entire human network. Suddenly, every human in the galaxy could hear her voice in their minds, calm and reassuring, despite the cosmic forces flowing through her. Don't be afraid, she said to them all. We're becoming something wonderful. The transformation that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans across dozens of worlds began evolving, not just physically, but spiritually and mentally. They retained their essential humanity, their capacity for love, creativity, and compassion, but gained abilities that transcended physical limitations. Some became beings of pure thought who could travel at the speed of consciousness. Others learned to manipulate matter with their minds while maintaining their physical forms. A few, like Jiwan, became distributed intelligences that existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. But all of them remained connected by their shared humanity and their determination to protect those they cared about. On the bridge of the Eternal Defiance, the crew watched in awe as their ship began to change around them. The metal walls became something that was both solid and fluid. The controls responded to thought as much as touch, and the entire vessel became an extension of their collective will. Captain Dae-hyun, the quantum engineer, reported with wonder in his voice, "We're not just in the ship anymore. We are the ship, and the ship is us." The coalition fleet, having fired their ultimate weapon, expected to see empty space where the human vessel had been. Instead, they saw something that challenged their understanding of reality itself. The Eternal Defiance had become an entity of living light and metal, beautiful and terrible at the same time. It radiated power that made space itself sing with harmonious frequencies. "This is impossible," the Vorthok commander transmitted on open frequencies. "You should be erased. You should never have existed. Captain Hyun, now existing as both human and something more, responded with a voice that carried across multiple dimensions. We exist because existence itself chooses to evolve. You tried to freeze the galaxy in place, to stop the natural progression of life toward greater complexity and understanding. But change is the fundamental force of the universe, and we have learned to work with it instead of against it. Mi-Jin, speaking for all the evolved humans, addressed the coalition fleet with words that touched the minds of every alien present. We offer you a choice. You can continue to fear change and spend eternity fighting the inevitable evolution of life. Or you can join us in learning to guide that evolution toward positive ends. To demonstrate their point, the evolved humans began to heal the damage their earlier quantum experiments had caused to space-time. The reality distortions that had frightened the aliens were carefully repaired, showing that human power could be used responsibly. Some of the alien ships began to lower their weapons. Scientists and philosophers among the coalition crew started broadcasting questions and requests for dialogue instead of demands for surrender. Krylex, who had volunteered for the evolution process, found himself changed but not lost. He retained his Zephyrian identity while gaining new abilities that allowed him to serve as a bridge between species. The humans were right, he transmitted to his former colleagues. Evolution doesn't have to mean chaos. It can mean growth, understanding, and cooperation on levels we never imagined possible. Yunji, similarly transformed, spoke to the alien fleets in dozens of languages simultaneously. Join us in building a galaxy where all species can grow and change together, where fear of the new doesn't drive us to destroy what we don't understand. Slowly, ship by ship, parts of the coalition fleet began to stand down. Scientists and explorers, tired of the rigid hierarchy that had ruled the galaxy for millennia, chose to approach the evolved humans with curiosity instead of hostility. The Vorthak commander, representing the old order, made one final attempt to rally his forces. They are still too dangerous. Today they offer peace, but tomorrow they might choose conquest. Hyon, his consciousness now spanning multiple realities, responded with gentle firmness. You're right to be concerned about power without responsibility. That's why we're not keeping these abilities to ourselves. The evolved humans began sharing their knowledge with any species that approached them peacefully. They taught controlled evolution, responsible growth, and most importantly, how to maintain one's essential nature while transcending physical limitations. The Eternal Defiance became the first of many vessels that existed as partnerships between consciousness and technology. Human colonies transformed into centers of learning where beings from across the galaxy could study the art of positive evolution. Years passed, and the galaxy began to change in ways that no one had expected. Instead of the chaos that the coalition had feared, there was unprecedented cooperation between species. Wars became rare as civilizations learned to resolve conflicts through understanding rather than force. The old Galactic Concord dissolved, replaced by the Evolutionary Alliance, a loose confederation of species dedicated to growth, learning, and mutual support. Earth was restored using evolved human technology that could reverse even planetary destruction. The homeworld became a symbol of humanity's journey from a single planet to a force for positive change throughout the galaxy. Jiwan, existing now as a distributed consciousness that touched every human settlement,